these color studies and these color learnings, it's challenging to see color in a new way. It's challenging. Right? I commend everyone for joining the bandwagon here and really allowing yourself to hit a reset in terms of how we see color, how we understand color, what's our perception of color, all those things, it's like everything is different, so every approach to any of these color spectrums that we're looking at and understanding and reviewing and observing and learning has to be with this presence, right? This acknowledgement that life is happening right now. This color is showing up to me right now, right? It's almost fleeting, right? Because if we think about it, our day is slowly turning to light. Our day is slowly turning from day to night, right? And as the light shifts, right, our color
There's
shifts.
a 9-minute slowdown in 3 miles.
So
You are still on the best
from morning
route.
to night, we, as people, not even thinking about it, we are continuously observing all of these different color shifts in our body, in our mind, all sorts of things, that convey these colors and the transitions. It's interesting, right? So I want us to begin to kind of relax or release any type of knowing how to do something idea, right? Let's hit the reset, right? And let's see, what we can find, right? What is coming from us, within us, leaving the frustration behind, the lack of outlook, and just really seeing the possibility of achieving the goal, right? Just seeing the possibility, right? And then actually just allowing your mind and your breath and your body to focus. And then you can breathe in and out, and allowing yourself to just relax and just take a steady. It's a color study. And relax. Maybe use more water. Maybe pad your brush on a paper towel. Maybe put a little bit more paint. Keep following the beat of these decisions, right? You're putting every breath of your life into what you're doing. Let's say, I'm giving you a very confusing assignment, right? So it takes you a second to get it, right? And that's fair. But the reason why it's abstract is because, well, one, it's healthy to think abstractly, and maybe that brings some communication confusion, but thinking abstractly and trying to share abstract thoughts so that we can kind of get around this fixation that we have with that we know the outcome, we know what we can achieve, we can't achieve. And everything is seen as a minus and not a positive. Not that that's wrong. Right? It's okay to look critically at things and see, what you need to improve. But it's also a really good idea to give yourself a chance, right? There's a difference between looking critically and growing from that, or looking at your work in shame or in anger or with a frown look because you think it doesn't look good, or you think you don't know anything about. It's like reminding you that, I don't mix colors well. All of those things. I encourage everyone, please, to hit that reset button, right? And let's allow ourselves to open our ears, right, to these abstract ideas, right? And this idea that we can stay present in our actions as we are learning all these, composition and color types of approaches. Right? Let's just really, just take some moments and really think about color, right? And think about how light is affecting the way we see color, right? I'm driving right now and I have my shades on, and having my shades on and I lift up my shades, the color completely shifts, right? Because the light has shifted. My perception of what the color is out there shifted, ever so slightly. So, during the section of learning color, we're pointing to these things, right? And having you make, these color gel objects, and so that you can study these color shadows. And now I'm asking you to emanate a dollar bill, right? And ask you to just focus on getting a material accurate, right? And giving you that extra challenge of allowing it to be two pieces of paper glued together to equal, that weight, right? And I, all these types of practices are allowing our body, our mind, our brain, our subconscious. It's signaling to all those
in
places
1.5 miles,
in us.
take exit 9A for Cahuenga Boulevard toward Hollywood Bowl.
As we're, breaking down all of these things, lost my train of thought here. Right? We're just really striving to just take notice to, how light, and as we go through our day, right? How does the color shift, right? It's like, so that's something that we're paying attention to right now, right? We're also paying attention to, paying attention to paintings that are narrative, meaning that they tell a story, they're not abstract. And looking at the ways that artists, painters, depict their story, and also how they decide to use their colors, right? In terms of, color charts, in terms of color theory, in terms of color wheel, how are they using all of these methods that you learn after you take a color theory class? How are they playing with their knowledge of color, right? To share their story, to relay their sentiment, to convey maybe detailed information through capturing that color vibration, right? Allowing the material to show themselves to you, right? Meaning, if there's frustration in mixing, right, you meet that material halfway, right? The other thing that we're learning is that, nothing is set in stone necessarily, right? There's always these opportunities where we can see color, right? There's infinite possibilities of color that we can see, right? Especially as the day turns from morning to night. The greens in the mornings are different than the greens at 2 o'clock. The greens are different after 10 p.m., right? And then those same greens shifted one more time, when, it becomes, 6 o'clock in the morning and then back again. And all that is, also factoring in the weather, is it an overcast day? It really depends on how much light is with us, right? What's that level of light value, right? Because that light value affects color value. So we're looking at these things. And I like talking about day to night, because then you could be driving like I'm driving and start to pay attention to how these colors look while still paying attention to the road. But you can start to pay attention to these just different shifts of green colors and shifts of red over shifts of red color over the cement color, just all these variations of color that are changing as we speak,
In 1,000
because
feet,
light
take exit 9A for Cahuenga Boulevard toward Hollywood Bowl.
is always moving, right? Nothing really is staying ever the same, right? So, as minimal or subtle that truth is, right? Everything is always constantly in motion, right? Nothing is ever still, right? So that means that nothing is ever flat, right? If we think about laying down color, right, and allowing that mix of color to give that color and that brush a chance, right?
Take
Paying
exit
attention
9A,
to
then sharp left onto North Cahuenga Boulevard.
Thank you. Paying attention to the amount of water that you're using, ratio to your pigment that you're using, right? Seeing what happens when
Sharp left onto
you
North
don't have
Cahuenga
that
Boulevard.
much water in your brush and dabbing it on purpose. Really investigating those ratios, and also really investigating just how you're holding your material, right? And also, how are you exploring the limitations and the amazing abilities of the range of possibility with the materials you're using, right? And then also, getting yourself organized a little bit so that you know what's what, and that's why I like to
In
always
1,000
say,
feet,
oh,
turn right
we
onto
hit a
Franklin
reset,
Avenue.
and you want to create a new palette for, it's like, it's always good to hit a reset at every new every new section of that work, right? Every new layer of what you're working on, hit a reset.
Turn right onto Franklin Avenue, then turn left onto Grace Avenue.
And for these color charts,
take the next right onto Franklin Avenue, then
that
turn
we are
left onto
turning
Grace
in,
Avenue.
As we do more
400 feet,
of
turn
these,
right onto Yucca Street. Take the next right onto Yucca Street, then your destination will be on the right.
I'm home now. But I wanted to talk about color, right? And just have you just notice how the light is affecting how we see color, right? How color is being, exposed to us.
Welcome home.
So when we're, doing these color chart studies, and making a chart versus making a list, and all of these kind of nuances, details, and copying a dollar bill with 2 sheets of paper instead of one, and matching the weight and feel and size of the dollar bill, right? All these things, very nuanced, very just kind of subtly nuanced. A lot of details that I'm asking for, maybe. But the thing that we are doing is by doing these different assignments, material hands-on, and kind of stretching out our brain in terms of just saying, okay, well, there's one way of working, but then stretching your brain, saying, oh, well, there's also more possibility. Let's get that pattern in as well, right? So we have to, though, allow ourselves to accept all of these different transitions, so that you can then begin to attach everything together, and you'll continue just to grow, right? But just try to fall into all of these new challenges and do them to the best of your ability. And if by chance you did it incorrectly, and I ask you to redo it, please know that it's because we're trying to look at something very specific, and it means that we have to do this very specific application so that we can really look at it, right? So I just want to encourage those that I just want to encourage you to keep turning in your assignments. And if I say to redo it, I really encourage everyone to redo their assignments. Sometimes maybe it's not as important, but with these two assignments, chart versus a list, and and getting the size and weight, and using 2 sheets of paper for the dollar bill, these types of details are very, as nuanced as they are, they're very important, because it's like they're creating this circle for us of all these different ranges of possibilities of how we approach our overall spectrum of things, hands-on, by looking, by painting, by this, by that, right? By studying the dollar bill, we're just kind of accessing all those parts, right? And also the challenge of the weight and feel just takes us out, and it makes us into another, it takes us to another area, right? So, you know, when I give you these assignments, it's, I'm sending you to all these different areas so that we can have a further focus, right? And then we come back, right? And then engage in something else, right? So everything has a purpose, right? So, you know, like today, right? We did the list of colors from June Edmonds and Charles White, right? And then I'm asking you from that list to make one complete color chart, right? And the color chart is not a list; it's a chart. We've done a couple of charts now to know that it's a box with little squares in it, and I just wanted you to put all the colors from both June and Charles into one grid of colors. And the goal of this was to see how the two relationships of color are working together, and how are they different, right? So, the color chart, I should see, for an example, if there's a red that was listed in June Edmonds' color chart, I should see that red in the June Edmonds style. But maybe Charles White had red also listed. His red, right, Charles White red, should be a different red than the June Edmonds, right? So, as we're looking at these color charts, and we're looking at this assignment, and why we are doing this to begin with, we are looking at these colors, right? But we're also looking at how they're different, right? June uses color differently and applies, like if Charles and June are both using yellow, June's yellow is going to look a lot different than Charles' yellow, because Charles has a softness and a more dimmer tone than June Edmonds does. June Edmonds has a bright palette, So in your combined color chart, as I'm gonna look at them more closely, is I should see those subtle differences, in this shared color chart, right? I should see what the red looks like in the June Edmonds, and I should see what the red looks like for the Charles White, right? So there should be all the colors being shared, in one color chart, and I expect that the colors from Edmonds is going to be different than the colors from the Charles White, and I want to see that also, right? So by combining this color chart, it's forcing to see if we indeed found those accurate colors. Did we see this difference of color? Did we strive to capture that? Whether we succeeded or not succeeded, did we find that focus?